Hey everyone, I hope you had a great day. Today we are looking at some new malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. The first story is called Satisfying Email. I'm a software developer. My department and another department each made different products, but a customer would often have both, and these products needed to communicate with each other. Both teams had the task of adding a feature, which required some modification to how the product communicate. Communication is done via a published protocol, which means that our two teams just need to follow the spec, which is great. The teams are in different countries, so time zones make direct collaboration somewhat challenging. My team finished our changes, and so I reached out to my counterpart on the other team to arrange for testing our products together. They were still working on it, and that was all I heard from them for a while. That's fine, we were ahead of schedule. I can wait until they are ready. I set a sample installation on a spare server up and told them how to access it remotely, and asked that they let me know if they need anything. A week or two passed before they were ready, and they started testing on a Friday. They encountered some problems, so they sent me an email. Because of the time zones, this was past my working hours and I wasn't checking my work email. When I didn't reply, they wrote another email, CCing their boss and my boss. When a reply to that email didn't come quickly enough, they CC'd even higher on the chain of command, demanding that my team works to fix the problem. They further stated that if the problem was not immediately fixed, their release would be late and it would entirely be my team's fault. On Saturday, I got a call from my boss explaining the situation. He politely asked me if I could spare some time to come in on the weekend to troubleshoot the problem. I agreed. I spent some time reading log files and packet captures and comparing system behavior to the spec. Soon enough, I found the problem. Their product was sending messages that did not conform to the spec. I was able to simulate the bad message and a fixed version of that message to confirm that our product handled both as it should. Nobody from the other team was online, so I sent my report by email. Remember how they sent that email blaming my team for their problems? The email that went to their boss's boss, my boss, and my boss's boss? Yeah, that was the email I replied to, replying to all. I very politely and professionally explained exactly what the problem was, making sure my explanation would be clear to those upper-level managers, before going into the technical details and what changes they would need to make to fix the problem. Clicking the send button has never felt so satisfying. Working on the weekend resulted in me being in a much better mood than if I'd stayed home the whole time. And per department policy, I took some compensation time during the week to make up for those weekend hours. This was my first time working with this team, but from what others told me, this wasn't an unusual experience. A few years later, the company was restructured, and that office was closed down completely. The next story is called Not Possible? At the start of secondary school, each student at my school was given a unique computer login where we can access communal resources and save our own private work. A few of my files seem to keep disappearing and new things were put there that I didn't create. After a few days, I figured out I'm actually sharing my account with another student, hence the mysterious missing files and random new ones. We meet up and learn we have the same surname, first initial and tutor group, so we assume that's why our accounts are actually the same one. We go down to the IT teacher, but he insists it is impossible for us to have the same account and that we should go in and delete everything that isn't our own work. We explain the situation, even offering to demonstrate how if one of us makes a new document, it will appear in the other account. This was fruitless. So we were instructed to sit down and delete everything that isn't ours. We do so, log off, log on again, and we both have completely blank accounts, having just deleted everything between us. No backups for students' private work. We have lost all assignments and homework. The teacher leaves us, presumably to figure out what's happening, comes back 15 minutes later with an apology and a note excusing us from all homework already set, and for not having our classwork. The next week, we each receive new accounts, and a month later the IT systems are out for a few days, possibly unrelated, but we like to think they were improving the system to stop this happening again. As a bonus, the notes were undated and signed by the head teacher, so I used it a few times in emergencies over the years. What do you think about today's stories? Let me know in the comment section below. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel to grow. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. The third story is called He Didn't Want to Learn from a Little Girl. I used to work for my grandparents on an oil farm in Texas. I was 17, freshly graduated from high school, and had moved from the Midwest to Texas to live with my grandparents and work on the oil farm they worked for, doing some easy data entry. The building was essentially a tin building on the job site where my grandma and I, the only two office workers beside my grandfather who was the foreman, worked. Basically, when the new hires would come in that had missed the initial hiring round, I was the one that would make sure all their paperwork was in order and that they had all of their OSHA classes finished. And if any safety training hadn't been done, I would just put in the VHS and confirm on a written copy that they had finished it under my instruction. This went on for 2 months with no issues, until one fateful day. A regular Florida man came in as a new hire and came to my office to finish his new hire paperwork. Once he was in my office, I found he had no safety training to speak of, and I informed him his next day or two would be spent in my office watching safety videos. All of this was paid, of course. He immediately flew into a rage, screaming about how he wouldn't have some little girl teaching him how to do his job, which again, I was a 17-year-old female and was only going through company standards and OSHA rules with him. I went to my grandfather, who was my boss at the time, obviously very confused and uncomfortable and unsure of how I should proceed. To which my grandfather said, "You wanna fire him?" I got excited. My grandfather follows me to my office and me, as a 17-year-old, get to fire this grown man sitting in front of me. I start directing him to gather his things and leave, and he starts up a huge fit, yelling and cursing at me, before he noticed my grandfather standing in the door, with his gun holstered on his hip and very quietly. Then he got up and left. The most satisfying moment of my life. The last story is called Management Decided That Things Need to Change. So, my local government workplace decided to introduce a strict uniform a few years ago. We always had a dress code, no jeans, no shorts, no exposed midriff. And if you didn't comply with it, what would be had? So most people were sensible and dressed for work accordingly. But sadly, according to management, that needed to change. The uniform chosen was awful. Black skirt or trousers of your own. Fine so far. White blouse and jazzy neck scarf for ladies. White shirt and jazzy tie for gentlemen. These were provided for us. Staff had to wear a scarf or tie, despite it being a risk. We work with the public, who are sometimes confrontational, and even our lanyards had to be the special breakaway type in case we were attacked. Suddenly the risk was forgotten or ignored. Not to mention unnecessary gendering of the uniform. I asked for a tie and was refused. Enter the malicious compliance. We did not plan or coordinate this, but somehow everyone in every satellite office came to the same conclusion. We will wear the uniform you provide. Only the uniform you provide. Now, being a local government, the budget was pretty much non-existent. So the quality of the shirts was awful. Paper thin, see-through and cheap. Badly sized, people having to request several sizes bigger than they were from regular shops in order for them to fit. Full-time staff, who almost always worked 5 days per week, were allocated 2 shirts. Part-time staff was allowed 1 shirt, no matter how many days their shifts were spread over. Now, either one of 2 things will happen here. Either the shirts will become very grubby after a day of work, you turn up the next day in a grubby shirt which looks very unprofessional. Or you wash it every shift, in which case it will become worn, frayed and even thinner and see-through after a few months, which looks very unprofessional and will need replacing after a few months, which there was no budget for. After a very scruffy looking year and several requests from the 80 or so staff for new shirts, the rules were relaxed somewhat, so that staff can wear any plain white, black or monochrome clothes that they wish. And suddenly, everyone looks much nicer, more professional and coordinated. Thanks for watching the video. If you had fun watching the video, please subscribe to the channel for more content. And please let me know what you think about the video in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.